Abu 7, we have a lot of attention turning to Pete Hegseth in the Pentagon today, summoning hundreds of generals and admirals for this urgent meeting. Of course, they're not saying what it's for, but we have a senior Pentagon correspondent saying they've never seen nothing like this in the past 30 years. This points to going to big war. Everyone should prepare. They're about to do something massive. It's rather obvious at this point, everything that they've done surrounding Venezuela. And you've got to remember that Rubio just came out and admitted yesterday that regime change is the goal in Venezuela. They did all the staging, acting like they were going to go after narco-terrorists and this and that. Now the cat's out the bag, and we kind of knew this already. They're going after Maduro. They're also going to be striking cartels from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico, up to our southern border. This is why, on day one of Trump's presidency, he declared a national emergency. It was over the cartels and all these gangs that are running around out there. And people couldn't understand why at first. Well, it's because they knew that whenever they got to this point, it was going to be absolutely huge. So they made sure on day one, they put us into emergency mode. Here we are months and months and months later, people still asking why. Well, I think we're about to see why. We just had military jets scrambled off the coast of Alaska to intercept Russian jets as well. These things all happening in the same window. Of course, tension rising around Ukraine. Trump calling out Putin and flip-flopping on the whole thing, going the opposite way and saying that he believes everyone should be able to shoot down Russian jets if they're in their airspace. After he says that, they come into ours. Or really close to it nonetheless. This is something to watch big time. I'm going to tell you guys, prepare for a war to break out and to break loose that comes right up to our doorstep. It looks like all the signals are there. I'll update on X as I get more information. Make sure to follow me there. Join me for the live streams going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
First and foremost, before we get started, I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone, while unto his truth, and also to those elect that are scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the type of day lesson is, it's about to go down. So I like to say Shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope to sweep you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So we're seeing in the opening clip of Dabu 7-7, we're seeing right now that, he was constantly saying about this Hegseth rare military meeting that he has summoned. And also, that that's on the horizon, the war drums are constantly beating. So let's get a little bit of this report right quick. This is by the New York Times, and it reads that Hegseth is said to have summoned U.S. military brass from around the globe. That brass goes into high-ranking officials around the globe. So let's get a little bit more. It says the unusual directive without a stated reason came after the defense secretary fired several top officials and ordered a reduction in four-star officers. Let's get a little bit more. It says here, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has summoned scores and perhaps hundreds of generals and admirals from around the world to meet on a short notice next week at a Marine Corps base in Virginia, but has not disclosed the reason for the gathering. Four U.S. officials said on Thursday. Says here, the unusual directive, which has been filtering its way through military commands and the undisclosed rationale, has stirred anxiety and concerns among the military top ranks in a period when Mr. Hegseth has fired several senior officials. So we're stopping right here for right now. So we're seeing right now that we're seeing an opening clip with Dabu 77 that is saying that they're getting ready to go into Venezuela. We already know once that happens, we know that Russia and China are going to get involved. Also, it was reports that they was off the coast of Alaska, in our airspace or near it. So we already know that this is a declaration for war, or they are preparing for war. So we know that a lot of things are happening. Also, it's reports in the UK that they get ready to announce digital ID. We're already knowing that the apostles, the elders, and the bishops and the prophets already have been from Great Millstone has already warned you about they're getting ready to implement the MOTB, that grain of rice shall go into your right hand or your forehead. So these things are fast approaching upon us. And also we know that Trump went to that UN General Assembly. I think it was in New York, and they was constantly telling him about stop the war in Gaza. Between Israel and Gaza. They want that to stop. They said it's genocide, and also these nations are slowly turning against the U.S. and also Israel. We know that the least of the flock shall draw them out. So we're seeing that these things are constantly rising. Also, it's already rumors of China are getting ready to go into Taiwan, saying they're very close to going into invading Taiwan. So a lot of things is happening. Also in the news, also the 3-Eye Atlas, they constantly talking about that. Also, things are constantly picking up. Tension is rising. Rumors of wars are all over the place. And also rumors of another government shutdown. Could this be the economic collapse, the crashing in the hill that the property are constantly warning you about? We know that at some point that they're going to eliminate the petrodollar. It's going to be obsolete, and they're getting ready to usher in this new digital society whereby it would go under your skin. That's what we constantly warn you about left and right. So the war drums are constantly beating. We're seeing that Russia, China is in our airspace. Also, we know that Russia was constantly playing around with NATO, over there in Poland, and what's the other one? I can't think of the other one right now, but they constantly testing their military might. Also, they are constantly flexing their muscle. And one thing about it, we already know that the U.S. has poked the bear. And one thing about it, they get ready to F around and find out. So Hegseth ordered a rare urgent meeting. So why these things are constantly happening? So we already know that war is right upon our shore, right here in our own backyard. And also we know that the Lord is constantly bringing these things to pass. And also in the news that it was a 911 outage in these certain southern states. So we don't know if they testing the system. They saying it wasn't a cyber attack, but we know that they are preparing for war. We're seeing right now that the tension is rising. We're seeing that these nations are rising against nations. And also we know that all hell is getting ready to break loose. So let's get a little bit more of this report. It says here, the unusual directive which has been filtering its way through military commands and the undisclosed rationale has stirred anxiety and concern among the military top ranked in a period when Mr. Hegseth had fired several senior officers. Said the 4 U.S. Officials who spoke on the condition of anomalies to discuss confidential meeting confirmed that the gathering was scheduled for next Tuesday at the base in Quantico, Virginia. It said there are about 800 general level officers in the armed forces, including 44 at the most senior 4-star levels. Said it was not immediately clear how many of them would be ordered to gather, which was reported earlier by the Washington Post. So we're seeing right now that things are getting ready to go down. tension is constantly rising. We're seeing right now that we are more closer than ever to what? The last and final war, World War III. We're seeing right now these things are constantly picking up. And also we know that Jacob's trouble is at the door. So, we constantly warn you left and right. The prophets have constantly been warning you about these things left and right, and also it was reports that we've been at DEFCON 3 for a pretty good amount of time. So when you get around to look up DEFCON 3, and we're very close, and all two more before all hell break loose. So we're seeing that the Lord's constantly moving the chess piece around. We're seeing that what the devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. So now let's go here and get a quick precept. Let's go here to Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. It said, the prophets that had been before me and before thee of old prophesied against many countries, against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. So we constantly been warning you about these things, left and right, what I'm saying? So the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. So we're seeing right now that these prophecies are coming full blown, constantly warning you about a war, disasters and disease and plagues, all these different things, all sorts of calamities are coming. And also the Lord's getting ready to judge this place for what? The controversy of Zion. So we read at judgment. Also our salvation is at the door. And one thing about that, we know that war is coming. That evil time, which in fact is Jacob's trouble, pestilence, you know what I'm saying? All sorts of plague and disease, death and destruction, the beginning of sorrow. So we're in the birth pains right now. Hey, it's going down. Verse 9 said, the prophet which had prophesied of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord had truly sent him. So one thing about it, when these predictions come true, you know what I'm saying, then you already know that the Lord really truly is dealing with that prophet. And also they shall know that a prophet was among them. So that's what we constantly been warning you about left and right. The Lord has set a watchman to warn you of all these impending dangers. So we are very close, man. These things are right before our eyes, man. We constantly warn you. So let's go here. Let's get to here. We know that they're preparing for war. Let's go here to Revelations, and we're gonna go back and get another video, a couple more little videos right quick, and then we're gonna close. I just not meant to be a long list, but one thing about it is that seeing that these prophecies are constantly popping just like clockwork, man. Let's go here. It said, and there went out another horse of Revelation. So like Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4, it said, and there went out another horse that was red, the so-called white man, and power was given unto him to cast their own, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So we coming upon that time that he's getting ready to resort to that sword, his blessing. You already know that we're coming upon this time. Tension is constantly rising all around the world. Rumors here, rumors over there, rumors of wars are all over the place. We're seeing all sorts of calamities and catastrophes left and right. Things are right here. The MOTB is at the door. These things are constantly happening. That's what we constantly warn you about, left and right. And once again, we are more closer than ever. You know what I'm saying? War is upon Babylon the Great. We constantly warn you. A lot of people are relaxing in their leads, and these things are going out. So let's get a little bit more of that that Hegseth orders a urgent meeting, a military meeting, with these high-ranking officers around the world, man. I mean, it's just getting ready to get serious. We already know right now that they have sleeper cells in America. Also, we know that China and Russia, in collaboration with the NATO and the EU, are getting ready to come in here. Babylon is finished. This place is, it's getting ready to go. America, you know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, America will never be great again. That's what we constantly warning you about, left and right. So let's get this quick video. We probably get one more, then we'll get a few precepts, and we'll close out. Let's go here. Let's get this one.
This event that's about to take place may be the largest gathering of generals that's ever gotten together in U.S. history. Apparently on September 25th of 2025, the U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth issued an order summoning hundreds of senior military officers, including generals and admirals from the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and Space Force for a closed-door meeting at Marine Corps Base Quantico in Virginia. Apparently the meeting is supposed to be scheduled for Tuesday, September 30th of 2025, and it applies to all officers that are the rank of brigadier general or higher, and all of their top senior enlisted advisors as well. Estimates of attendees are varying currently, but some reports are citing that there could be nearly up to 800 participants, including staff, even though senior leaders appear to be somewhat unaware of the full scope or purpose of this thing. Even officers that are currently in active conflict zones are expected to attend this meeting, which makes me think that something urgent is happening. Now, the Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell confirmed the event, stating that, quote, the Secretary of War will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week, end quote, but provided no further details on the agenda. Now, something I think is very interesting is that a very senior Pentagon correspondent with 30 plus years of experience described it as an unprecedented event in their career, saying, quote, I've never seen anything like this. We might be going to war, end quote. Now, the lack of stated agenda has fueled further speculation and unease from a lot of people, with one anonymous source telling the Washington Post that, quote, people are very concerned. They have no idea what it means, end quote. Now, from what folks have said, the last time this many senior officers and leaders got together was during the Goldwater-Nichols Act of 1986, which totally restructured the entire military command, but nobody's saying anything about what's actually going to be discussed yet. So believe me, when I find out, I will keep you guys updated, because this is huge.
So now let's start today's lesson. So one thing about we already know they are what? Preparing for war. Let's go here to Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. So the devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath because he's knowing that his time is very short. Let's get this right quick. So we're seeing right now that, things, it is a very rare meeting. Why they are moving so fast? Because we are very close. Everyone is preparing for war. It's obvious and clear that we're here, man. We're in that time of great tribulation. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12 says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knowing that he has but a short time. So right now, we're in that short season where this man is getting ready to use his sword in a big way. Constantly warning you left and right, his technology, his military. So we know right now they're calling this meeting, talking about going into Venezuela. And one thing about it, we already know once that get popping, we know that Russia and China is going to get popping also. Ezekiel chapter 38, Jeremiah chapter 51 is constantly lining up, and many other scriptures. We seeing right now at the end it shall speak and not lie. So now let's go here to Psalm chapter 37. Not meant to be a long lesson tonight, man. I'm telling you, man, these prophecies, man, are lining up like clockwork, man. We almost out of here, man. Yahweh about Shema Shai, man. It's fast approaching. We constantly warning you left and right, man. Man, we are ready to get the hell out of this nightmare, man. Let's go here to I think I passed it up. Let's go here to Salakada. Let me start back. Let's see. It says Psalm chapter 37 and verse 12 said the wicked plotters against the just and gnashed upon him with his teeth. So that's what we get ready to see. The wicked is what the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks, said plotted against the just, the what? The elect, the true believers of Yahweh by Shema Shai, the remnant. They said gnashed upon him with his teeth. And that teeth is going into this military. You know what I'm saying? A military flood. You know what I'm saying? His technology, pseudoscience, AI. You know what I'm saying? His robotics. A lot of different weaponry this man is getting ready to use against the children of Israel. We know that Jacob's trouble is getting ready to start, and who will be the most in trouble? The whole world would be in trouble. Who would be the most in trouble is what they call the so-called people of color, which in fact are the Negroes, the Latinos, the Native Indians. I'm talking to you. It's time to seek your true power, because we are running out of time. Let's read this once again. It said the wicked plotters against the just and gnashed upon him with his teeth. So right now we know they're constantly plotting. That's why we're seeing that Pete Hegseth has summoned this meeting all out of the blue, this rare urgent meeting, with his top generals and admirals around the world. So we already know that, hey man, war is in the air. It's in the air right now. It is imminent. You know what I'm saying? World War III is constantly brewing left and right. The wars to end all war. And this is what we constantly warning you about left and right. Let's read verse 13. It said, the Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. So the Lord knowing that he got an hour, a day, and it's down to the millisecond. You know what I'm saying? They seeing that his day is determined. The Lord's getting ready to judge him. Very soon. Judgment is coming. Very soon. Lord, we constantly wait and patiently. That the Lord is. We want to see all our enemies go down. It is time to rule. We got next. And although, and we see it right now, this man is constantly scrambling. We know he's going to resort to that sword, that technology. He's going to resort to his military. These things are coming. Verse 14 said, the wicked have drawn out the sword and have beat their bow to cast down the poor and the needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. So who have that upright conversation? It's the true believers, starting with the prophet, also the great multitude, the elect. And one thing about it, that we already know that this man had drawn the sword. He constantly, setting the stage, you know what I'm saying? But one thing about it, to try to kill the unalive, Salakia, the people of Israel, the people of color, you know what I'm saying? But one thing about it, he would not be able to perform his enterprise. Verse 15, some of us will be martyrs, but the bulk of Israel will be delivered. Verse 15 said, their swords shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. So that's exactly getting ready to happen. They're setting it up right now, setting the stage, for this war. It's brewing on all fronts. This is going to be a major and a gigantic war. The wars to end all wars. Man, we are so very close. We are so very excited. So let's go here to Jeremiah. Let's get this one here in Jeremiah, and we'll close out. Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51. We'll start up at verse 6. It says here, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Said, deliver every man his soul. Said, be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. Say, he will render unto her a recompense. The Lord's getting ready to repay, what was done to us is getting ready to be done to them. The constant verse of Zion, the Lord's getting ready to set the record straight. And how do you flee out of midst of Babylon? Spiritually, renewing on the mind, wisdom and knowledge and his gospel shall sustain you in times of trouble, will be your cover, that stronghold. Verse 7 said, behold, verse 7 said, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. Said the nation have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. So one thing about it, is when you go into that word wine, going into philosophy, going to their policies and different things like that, all have drunk of the wine, all have lived deliciously, fornicating with the whore, and out about the nations have drunk of the wine, have grown mad, and also they're very angry. They're turning against Babylon Great. They have found this whore out. So we're seeing right now that America was a major influence around the world, but now we're seeing that America is constantly circling the drain. It's not that golden cup anymore. It's not the number one nation superpower. We're seeing superpower. We're seeing that these nations are raging right now to be the next superpower, but it's not going to happen. Verse 8 said, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed, but she will not be healed. So, we've seen a lot of videos about that America is approaching 250 years, the end of an empire, end of an age. That's what we're approaching right now. This man is getting ready to go down. His time is up. He's getting ready to go into slavery. We cannot wait. Verse 9, it said, see, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not here. Forsake her, and let us go every one unto his own country, for her judgment reaches unto the heavens and is lifted up even to the sky. So right now, she's getting ready to pay for these iniquities, but what double? You know what I'm saying? when you go to Lamentation chapter 4, around 21 and 22, it says, ye too, shall drink of the cup of what? Of oppression, the cup of what? Affliction. What was done to us is getting ready to be done to them. So we seeing right now that her judgment had reached it until the sky. It's talking about Babylon the Great, that great whore that sits on many water. The Lord's getting ready to judge this place. It says here, verse 10 said, the Lord has brought forth out verse 10 again said, the Lord has brought forth our righteousness. Said, come and let us declare in Zion the works of the Lord, our power. Verse 11 said, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Said, the Lord has raised up the spirits of the spirits of the kings of the Medes, the Russia, for his device is against Babylon, and said to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord and the vengeance of his temple. Who is the Lord's temple? The Israelites. And one thing about it that we're seeing that the Lord is getting ready to repay. And also the Lord is constantly putting the hooks in Russia's jaw. We're seeing right now these things are lining up left and right. Man, we are in some very, very dangerous, dark, perilous time. That's right before our eye. But we're going to what? We're going to constantly trust and believe Yahweh Ba'ashim outside. So the Lord has raised up the kings in the spirit of the Medes. And the spirit of Medes are Russia. So we're seeing it right now. Also we know that Russia is going to be a guard to these nations. We're seeing about Venezuela and also these African nations. A lot of things going on with Kino Faso, I'm thinking that's the name of, between Abraham, I can't think of his last name, but anyway, there's a lot of things that's going on over there. And we're seeing that those alliances are coming stronger and stronger. So Russia is constantly being a guard to these nations. Things are constantly lining up just left and right. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 12 says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Said, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So the Lord has, set up the watchmen. The Lord has set up the ambush. So we know at some particular times it's going to be civil wars, sedition. Also, it's going to be invasion of America. So the Lord is setting these things up to destroy this place. This place is never going back the same. You see it right now, the Lord is setting it up. As he bringing forth that judgment each and every day. Verse 13 said, O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundance in treasures. Said, thy end is come, and the measure of thy covenant. So the end is fastly approaching. We're living in the last day, left and right. We get ready to see the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, very soon. The Lord's getting ready to destroy this place. There will be no inhabitant left here. Things are getting ready to go nuclear, a great nuclear thermal exchange, a nuclear holocaust. These things are getting ready to happen. Constant warning, death and destruction is right before our eyes. Verse 14 said, the Lord of hosts, Salakia, has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. So that's where we at right now. The Lord has already filled this place with men like caterpillars. We are swarming with the enemy. Let's read this in the NLT. It said, the Lord of heaven's armies has taken his vow and has sworn to it by his own name. Your cities will be filled with the enemy. It said, like fields swarming with locusts, and they will shout in triumph against you. So that's where we at right now. The stage is set. Wars constantly upon, in our own backyard. Rumors of wars are all over the place. So things are very, right now we're on high alert. It's high time to wake out of sleep. So we know at some point that America is going to be invaded. Also, America is going to be totally destroyed. There will be no inhabitant left here. That's what we constantly warn you about, left and right. So we're seeing right now that, Pete Hegseth is, bringing forth this military meeting. And also we know that the enemy is getting ready to come in like a flood. So let's get this Isaiah chapter 59. We'll close out here. Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19. Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19. The the Lord's going to lift up that standard for. We know that Jacob's trouble is at the door. Implementation of the RFD microchip, which in fact is the mark of the beast. Also, we know that World War III is coming. Also, what? The great and glorious return of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is at the door. Let's read this here right quick. Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19 said, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. Said, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, said the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard up against them. And that about, when you go into that flood, we talking about a military flood with all sorts of technology, weaponry that get ready to come upon us. We already know that things is brewing in South America. Things are brewing in the Middle East. Also off the coast of Alaska, Cuba. They're already here. The stage is set. All things are ready. So we seeing that right now that we see the writings on the wall. These things are right before our eyes, and also the Lord's going to lift up a standard. That standard is going to go into a supernatural intervention. The Lord is going to intervene on our behalf. And also when you go to Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, the Archangel Michael is going to have to stand up for the children of Israel, because it's going to be a time that we have never seen before. The Lord is going to have to help us. Only the elect this time around. If you're not part of the elect, you're going to be unalive. That's what we constantly warn you about. Left and right, it is here, it is at the door. It's time to seek the Lord while he can be found, because right now, things are very tense, just like a hair trigger any given day. We know that they got to implement that chip. We know that we are so very close. Our salvation is at the door. So the title of the daily lesson, once again, is it's about to go down. So I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Rikah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.